What is up, you delightful bastards? My name's Smith and this is Smith Does Games, and I thought I'd just make a quick video going over my sensitivity settings that I use in PUBG and kind of why I use them. You know, if any of you are looking to change your settings, or you kind of want an idea about what settings maybe to use. I'm not necessarily saying that the settings I use are going to work exactly for you, but I recently changed up my settings because I was really struggling with aiming. I just wasn't playing very well, and I kept the same settings for a long time, which is a really important thing. Actually, before we go into the actual settings, is when you are changing your settings, if you're trying out a new sensitivity or something, don't try it for a match, and if you don't get many kills, you know, just assume that it's rubbish and move on. You need to stick with it and allow yourself to kind of learn the sensitivity and get used to it. Even more so in a game like PUBG, where you may be only getting into a handful of engagements in a match, you're not giving yourself enough chance to actually learn that sensitivity. But anyway, I'd stuck with my old sensitivity for a really long time, and I was still just struggling. I was missing a lot of shots, and so I decided I would just try and just change it up slightly. And what this really amounted to was actually bringing most of my sensitivities down a small bit, but turning aim acceleration on and bringing that up slightly. But we'll get to that in a second. So as for the settings themselves, I'll try and put them up on the screen now, and we'll just go through them as well. So the controller binding, I use type B, simply because I prefer being able to ADS with the left trigger, and it's because it's like a hold to ADS rather than tap. You're able to kind of go in and out of ADS more quickly. So if you're peeking from left to right or around corners or something, you're much easier able to go between ADS, non-ADS, and that kind of stuff. It can get a little bit confusing if you're trying to do that a lot and you're tapping it again. You can kind of lose track of where you are, whereas it's much easier just to know that kind of like in is aiming, out isn't, and that works for me. Right stick dead zone. Now, you probably would have seen this already in the video, but you actually would have seen me getting my dead zone right. And dead zones are something that I think people maybe misunderstand a lot, because really the reason a dead zone is there is actually just to counteract stick drift more than anything else. It's not even that much about preference. You should always have your dead zone as low as possible, in my opinion, because that is going to be the most responsive. Your controller is going to be the most responsive to your inputs when you have it on 0. But obviously, as you could see possibly in the gameplay that I've got here, my controller was actually drifting down slightly even when I wasn't aiming with it, and so I was just putting the dead zone up and up to find the lowest point at which that didn't happen. So I'm still keeping my dead zone as low as possible, but it's just necessary for me to have it on, as it turns out, on 12 for my right stick dead zone to stop it doing that. So left stick dead zone, I don't have a problem with stick drift on the left stick, so I keep that at 0. Vibration off because it's the devil. Movement sensitivity I put on 25, works for me. I think this is pretty much personal preference. I don't really know what that does. Vertical sensitivity multiplier I just leave on 100. Okay, general sensitivity I have on 5. Now this is one I used to have a lot higher, but since putting aim acceleration on, I've noticed a huge difference with that, because most of the time when you're kind of just aiming in, you know, third person, or if you're in first person just running around without actually ADSing or over the shoulder, anything like that, you're putting your stick to the edges of the kind of analog stick ring most of the time. You know, you're sort of swinging it around, and that's where your aim acceleration is really going to kick in. And so I used to have this on 7 or 8, I think. But once I put a bit of aim acceleration on, that just felt way too fast. So I had to bring it down to 5 with the aim acceleration, which you can see that I've got on there at 4. That for me feels like a comfortable balance. Again, over the shoulder aiming sensitivity, I used to play with this on 10, and this is part of the reason that I've actually decided to put aim acceleration on, was because I would play with OTS sense on 10, I'd play with my 1x and 2x optics up at about 7, I think, with my general at 8, and there were still many situations, especially with over the shoulder, where I'd be using it to clear rooms, that kind of thing, leaning and trying to sort of clear rooms quickly, check corners, and I just felt like it wasn't fast enough. And so what I decided was that with aim acceleration, I would be able to kind of hit slightly higher speeds while still maintaining the precise control that comes with a lower sensitivity when I needed it. And really that is, I think, where aim acceleration actually does work quite well on consoles. Now, since this game came out, I've basically played with as low as possible in aim acceleration, and when they gave me the option to turn it off, I did. And my reason behind this was aim acceleration means that your aim isn't uniform, so it's going to be more difficult to judge. It's going to be less consistent. And really, that belief, I think, came from kind of my understanding of what aim acceleration does on PC. Now, if any of you have ever played games on PC, you will know that having aim acceleration is like absolutely positively a big no. You don't want it on. You're never going to improve your aim. Your aim is going to be inconsistent, and you're never going to be able to learn and train yourself with the kind of muscle memory to aim properly with a mouse. Now, the reason for that is obviously that with a mouse, no matter how low your sensitivity is, you can aim as quickly as you want simply by increasing the physical speed at which you move your arm or your hand or whatever. Now, you don't have that option on a console. And so actually what I like about having aim acceleration on is that it gives me a larger spectrum of speeds with which I can aim. You know, if I want to aim slowly and precisely, I can do so just using the analog stick at a slight tilt. But if I want to increase that aiming quickly, and one of the areas that I found this commonly happening or being a problem on PUBG was when cars would drive past and you're trying to spray down a car. I used to have my over the shoulder on 10 with aim acceleration off, and I still couldn't track a car a lot of the time if it was too close to me. Now with aim acceleration on, when you hit the edges of your kind of analog stick radius, you're going to be speeding up a little bit more and kind of zipping past, and that's going to give you that speed that you need in certain circumstances. So it is something to get your head around a little bit, but I think if you can, it's worth it. And then as you can see there, I go 5 excuse me, I go 5, 5 for 1 times and 2 times, and then 4 times I have on 4 because you just want that little bit extra precision, and then again with 8 times I go down to 3. Now, at some point in this video, you'll have seen 8 times was actually on 4 when I first did my settings. The reason being the video you're watching right now is actually my first ever game with these new settings, and as you can see, it actually goes quite well for me. And so I saw kind of immediate improvement with these settings. I since have got hold of an 8 times scope and realised that 4 was actually a touch too high. So I've brought it down to 3, and that seems to be about right. 15 times I've gotten 10. I haven't picked up a 15 times in a long time. I don't know if they fixed the kind of glitch where it was just horrendously slow, but the last time I used one was probably about a month ago maybe, and it still was almost impossible to use with that, even with it being on 10. So I've left that at 10 for now. So yeah, that's my sensitivity settings as I've got them. They're the new ones I'm working on. Probably going to be using these for the foreseeable future. I've, like I say, changed them a few days ago and actually been having a lot of success with them ever since. And as you can see from this game, this game goes okay. I actually don't end up getting the win. I come 3rd in this game. But for the first time ever using new sensitivity settings, just hopping right in and getting, I think 7 kills I end up with, and 3rd place. Seems pretty good to me. So, and I find I've been winning a lot more fights. I used to have a lot of problems with one-on-ones, but these new settings are working quite well for me. So give them a go. If perhaps you're looking for new settings, maybe you feel like you could do with a change, try these ones out, or just tweak as to your liking. There is no perfect sensitivity setting. There's no correct sensitivity settings. You've just got to find what works for you, and if you can find the settings that mean that you find it easiest to put the dot on the person's head and press the button, then that's the one that's best for you. But really, I wanted to make this video because it's just like a tip to anyone that is struggling with aiming. Is I have found from experience that going into your sensitivity settings and changing them and thinking about maybe where you need help or where you could do with it being a little bit easier, it is a way to kind of see immediate results. If you don't see immediate results, it is sometimes worth sticking with it, like I say, because you do have to kind of learn it. But for a long time, I spoke about aim acceleration. I had aim acceleration off on this game for a long time, and that was from some kind of strange belief that was the correct thing to do, because it made sense logically to me that would be off, and so I thought that would be the way to be better at the game. And actually, as it turns out, that just isn't true. I'm finding it much more comfortable now that I've turned it on. And I mean, to be honest, the aim acceleration, the aiming system in PUBG is perhaps one of the worst we have in any console game, which sucks a bit. But if you are struggling with your aiming, consider changing your sensitivity. It can work. You just need to kind of make the right changes and be willing to stick with it for a little while. So yeah, I think that's going to do it, really. Like I say, I'll put the full list of sensitivity settings down in the description in case you stop you pausing the video or whatever. You can go down and have a look in the description. You can refer back to it if you want to try these ones out. So yeah, let me know if you need new sensitivity settings and you try these out and they work for you. Let me know. That'd be pretty cool. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye.